Okay, so let's see what else we need to do. If we come to the other side over here, we have to go ahead and finish this area off. Let me look at my reference image real quick. And we can see this is the side that we have to do. We have some details. We have some more of these plugs. We've already created them, so we'll just duplicate those. I'm not going to create every single detail here, but I'm going to create the main ones. For example, these HDMI ports right here. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you a trick to create one, and then use that one to basically duplicate that on the geometry. So let me show you how to do that. First of all, let's take about 3 of these guys. These 3 over here. And let's go ahead and let's clone them. So hold down Shift, bring them over. Need to rotate them 90 degrees this way. And I'm going to go ahead and move them into the mesh like so. Okay. Now if I go to my side view here, I can see here, well, I pretty much nailed it right there, almost perfectly, just from eyeballing it. So I'm going to go with, that looks pretty good right there. Okay, now, this polygon is going to be the basis for the detail that I'm going to be modeling here. So let me show you how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to select this polygon here, and I'm going to go to subdivision up here. I'm going to open up the tessellate options, tessellate settings here. You can see the mesh has been tessellated right there, so I'll hit apply one more time and hit OK. So basically we end up with all this extra geometry. I'm going to select this loop here that's in the middle, that middle loop of edges that I just created, and hit Control and Backspace to get rid of that because we don't need that. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select, say, these 2 edges. I'm going to select those 2. I'm going to select those 2. I'm going to use the connect tool, and I'm going to connect them one time, like that. Now I don't like where these plugs are positioned, and because this is my TV, I'm modeling it. I'm going to take some creative freedom here and move these plugs down to about right there. Okay. And now what I have is a set of polygons here that I can use as a basis for creating my HDMI inputs. So what I'm going to do is come to this polygon over here, and I'm going to create one. I'm going to take the inset tool, and I'm going to inset that about that much. And I'm going to look at this, and you can see the type of shape that it's supposed to be. Okay. So I'm going to move that out of my way, and basically using that photographic reference, I can go ahead and start to model out this HDMI input. So I'm going to go with something like this. I'm going to select those 2 vertices right there. And I'm going to chamfer those vertices. About, let's see, about this much looks pretty good. So I'll hit OK. I'm going to go to Target Weld and get rid of those new corner vertices I created. Don't need them. I'm going to take that new polygon that I've created there, and I'm going to extrude it into the model like so. About that much is fine. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the inset tool, and I'm going to inset a very small amount, something like this. Looks pretty good. Then I'm going to hit apply to do it again. Then I'm going to select those 2 polygons, and I'm going to select their loop, and I'm going to extrude these polygons out. I'm going to extrude them to about this much right there. Looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to select that polygon, hold down Shift and Scale to basically create a new one, like that. I'll make it an element. An element is fine. And let me see, I'm going to scale this like so. Okay, I'm going to go to vertex mode, and what I'm going to do is use the cut tool, make a cut from up there to down there. Then I'm going to go to polygon mode, select that extra polygon, I don't need it. Go back to this polygon in here. Okay, and I'm just going to extrude it. And I extruded the wrong one right there. Let me just use the extrude options right there. There we go. Push that in like so. And what I'm going to do is go to element mode, select that entire element, scale them up like this. And that looks pretty good. If I render this out from a distance, it looks pretty good, like an HDMI port. So I'm going to say that I'm happy with that. I'm not going to waste a lot of time tweaking it and being picky about it or anything like that. So now that I have that geometry done, let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all of these polygons right here, just those three right there, and I'm going to delete them. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to element mode, select that element. I'm going to go to polygon mode, select the polygon in there with the element, and I'm going to grow that until I basically have all of these polygons right here. Then I'm going to rip those polygons off into a new object. Okay, I'm going to take this guy and just change his color quickly here, just so that I got something better to work with. I'm going to go to the hierarchy tab, center the pivot point to the object, and then I'm going to snap using vertex snapping to the top left corner there of this object. And what that'll allow me to do is basically snap that guy right there. Then I can just hold down shift, make another copy right there, hold down shift, snap another copy up there. Okay. And then what I'm going to do to make it all one object is I'll select this guy here, go to attach, and I'll attach those objects to it. Now at the vertices, I know that they're not exactly welded. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the entire region there of vertices. And I'll go to the weld options here. You can see before is 346, after is also 346. So as soon as I move that up, it just got reduced to 334. So I'll hit OK. Have a quick scan over here with my eyes. Just look at it real quick, make sure everything's good. Looks like it's good. Okay. So the next one to do is this this input here for a computer. Okay. I'm not going to create these little pinholes right there because they're little tiny details that are better left at texturing or something like that, as opposed to wasting resources in geometry modeling that stuff out. But I'm going to model the main, basically the main geometry of that right there. So let's go ahead and do that. And I can do that based off of this polygon that I have right there. So I'm going to use the inset tool, inset that a bit. And I'm just going to start to scale this until I get something that's acceptable. So something like that looks pretty decent. Okay, I'm going to take this edge right here, and I'm going to scale that one in because I know that the bottom right here is going to be scaled in just a bit, like so. Then I'm going to take that polygon and I'm going to extrude it out. The amount you want to extrude out is, well, it's pretty much arbitrary here. I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball it to something like that. Looks pretty good to me. I'll push it in a little bit more, something like that. Okay. Now what I need to do is take this ring of edges that goes around this object, and I'm going to chamfer it. Now you'll notice something, that if I chamfer this to something like this, which something like that, which looks pretty good, this gets chamfered here beautifully. But you'll notice that right here it flattens it out. This is just a limitation here by the chamfer tool in 3ds Max. So to get around that issue, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce this to just one segment. Okay. And with those edges still selected, I'm going to hit apply, reduce the chamfer amount about this much, and you can see how now when I apply it, it makes the curvature right there. Okay. Since this is going to be viewed from a distance, I'm going to go ahead and render it out like so. It looks pretty good from far away, so I'll hit OK. Say I'm happy with that. I do have some extra vertices here I don't need, so I'm just going to take a moment here to basically target weld this stuff. Get rid of some of these extra vertices here. There we go, last one up here. I like to clean up my geometry whenever possible. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this polygon that's in here, and I'm going to slightly inset that using the inset options here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and extrude this guy in into itself just a little bit like that. And let me go ahead and render that out. So it looks like that, a little bit more detailed. Okay, that's good enough. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my left view, and I'm going to create another circle like that. I'm going to go back to my perspective view, and the circle is obviously in the wrong place, so I'm just going to move it a little bit closer over here. And get this guy in here. So something like this. This circle is basically going to be, if I look at this, it's got these little screws. Alright, so you can screw on the cable for the computer. So I'm going to reduce the radius of this to about this much. Maybe a little bit more, to about that much right there, and move it a little bit closer. Okay, that looks good to me. I'll convert that to an editable poly. I'll take the polygon right there and let me move it closer to the object like that. I'm going to extrude it out. That's a bit far, so I'll go to something like this. And I'm just going to inset this. Obviously not too much. It's getting a little sensitive on me there because I'm working really small here. Okay, let me just undo that. Let me just use the inset tool options here, which is a little bit more precise. So I'll go with something about here to make the little pinhole. And I'll move this in like so a little bit. Extrude it in. Like that looks fine. And let me extrude this from a distance. Or just view this from a distance. Yeah, it looks pretty good from a distance. So I'm going to say I'm happy with that. I'm going to move it into the mesh a little bit. Like so. I'm going to take all its polygons. And I'm going to go down to auto smooth. Smooth that out. Okay, looks good. Alright, and now I'm simply going to go ahead and clone this and place it on the bottom side right here. And go with something like that. If I render that out, it looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to say that I'm happy with those details right there. Alright, good. Now we're still not done. We still need to create the base of this so that I can sit on top of. If I look at my reference images, and let's switch over to another reference image. You can see here that we have this sort of base piece that sits on the bottom right there. Basically, it's the stand of the TV so that this thing doesn't fall over. We have to model that next. But we'll go ahead and we'll do that in the next video.